Hello and welcome to Design, Build, Operate. I'm your host, Alex Karim, and in this short video series, we're going to go through how the Industrial Metaverse and HoloLens 2 is transforming industry today. On tonight's episode, we explore all things manufacturing. I hear from PTC, Wolfgang Stelzer joins me on the sofa for a conversation on all things mixed reality and the Industrial Metaverse.
Mixed reality can be used in pretty much every part of our life, in our consumer life, but also in the business context, right? That makes it challenging on the one hand, but also interesting on the other hand.
We get a glimpse of what this technology looks like today with the help of fracture reality. I mean, this is, to me, the best example of the Industrial Metaverse that I've ever seen. And we also hear from Amanda Hillman, Principal Product Manager for Dynamics Guides, to hear how mixed reality is transforming the frontline worker workflow.
So this is really what lets the frontline worker be hands-free, heads up, where they need to work, but have all of their information, their colleagues, digital information, all accessible wherever they are.
But first, let's get a glimpse of the industry with Matt Walsh from Microsoft. So I think to kind of get started, it's worth kind of having a level set on the manufacturing industry. And to help me do that, I've got Matt Walsh. So Matt, thank you very much for joining me.
No, thanks, Alex.
No worries. Probably to get started, probably worth telling us a bit about yourself. You're very much industry aligned with manufacturing. Maybe tell us a bit about your background and also your role here at Microsoft.
Yeah, so I'm the EMEA Regional Business Lead for Manufacturing Mobility. So that's a huge industry and a very broad different set of customers as well, be it from discrete manufacturers, agri, process, automotive, travel, transport, huge range of customers, which is a privilege because we can see a different view. And again, each country's got their own different challenges, be it frontline and current challenges. But at the same point, there's consistency and commonality of challenges as well, and also opportunities.
Absolutely, and you know, to touch on challenges, it's not the easiest time to be a manufacturer, but not only in the UK but also globally, right? Whether it's rising inflation, you know, the supply chain issues in terms of the global kind of ecosystem. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what the current challenges that you see in the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, it's never been easy to be a manufacturer, and I think at the moment it's being squeezed even more. So being squeezed from raw materials, payroll challenges, huge cost challenges coming in, being squeezed on the supply chain. So again, they're all having different implications and different challenges on the supply chain. That's gone back 2.5, 3 years. And they're still feeling the effects now of excess inventory, short inventory, inventory mismatch. So that bullwhip effect in the supply chain is very real at the moment. And then the other challenge is probably around the people. And we've got an aging workforce in manufacturing, or we've got a young workforce. The aging workforce has been a challenge for a number of years, and we all know about it, but it's a challenge that's been pushed away. So it's a next year challenge, But we have to lean in, and that's probably a big topic with customers at the moment, is how do we lean in on that population of the workforce, but at the same time, how do we skill and adopt new technologies for the entire workforce? Or how do we attract new ones coming into manufacturing?
I'm interested to get your thoughts on the future. You know, how can technology support, and you know, is there a light at the end of the tunnel for manufacturers?
I think the light is very bright, and I think the tunnel is actually quite a big tunnel at the same time. But it's going to be a famous year from generative AI, open AI, what we're bringing to market with Copilot, and at the same time, from an industry standpoint, how can that help accelerate or disrupt? It's our role to help our customers on that. And I think us guiding them on their way, us helping explain the value of these new technologies coming down is critical. But at the same time, how can we really make a difference with processes, ways of working, the tooling, the go-to-market? Huge opportunity.
Massive. Awesome. Matt, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Alex.
So we've got a sense of the industry, but what I wanted to do is to do an immersive showcase to show what this technology looks like today. And to help me do that, I've got Knowles-Lee from Fracture Reality. Mark, great to have you back. Maybe you could tell us a bit about Fracture and the Join XR platform.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So Fracture is based down in Brighton on the south coast. We're very proud to be Microsoft Gold partners. We've worked on the HoloLens for 6 or 7 years now. And our Join XR platform, put simply, it's a bit like Teams and PowerPoint, but for your HoloLens, real kind of productivity workhorse. It works by letting you upload 3D models from all kinds of sources, CAD, BIM, CT scans, beautifully created models by artists, compose them into structured presentations along with all your other media. And it's plug and play, so you can just get started really quickly.
Awesome. Well, let's load up our first piece of content. So Mark, I think this might be the most impressive mixed reality model or 3D model I've ever seen. A full representation, a digital twin, if you will, of a physical manufacturing site, manufacturing a piece of automotive equipment, and it's in one-to-one scale. I mean, I can imagine this in a kind of a factory kind of planning scenario, actually bringing in the true one-to-one scale version to see if it fits, etc.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's so many pieces of incredible machinery built today that are very, very expensive, hard to move around,
Sure.
very hard to show your customers these products. It's very hard for people to sort of spatially plan how the ergonomics, the flow of a building is going to work. Being able to digitally implant these highly accurate representations of products, super valuable at that early stage.
I can imagine, and as we go through the phases, let's say, when we go into operations, the key really is understanding the pieces of physical equipment and also their current state of operations.
And the key to understanding that current mode of operations is the data. Now at Microsoft, we've been working closely with Kawasaki Heavy Industries on the Industrial Metaverse. Leveraging digital twin technology, we're helping Kawasaki simulate and predict the operations of their robotics to better inform the future. This ultimately means saving time and cost on downtime and maintenance activity. And in terms of go-to-market strategy, we work with partners in this space such as PTC, but also Cognite, Sight Machine, and many others. Ultimately, we're working together to drive industry-relevant insights to manufacturers today.
And so we've got some panels which kind of represent let's say, the live telemetry from this piece of equipment, this robot arm. Through the data, we can derive insights. We can understand its current mode of operation, future mode of operation, and understand issues ahead of time and predict through predictive maintenance technology. So IoT, and especially when you add the likes of AI on top, can really kind of bring things together. I mean, this is, to me, the best example of the industrial metaverse that I've ever seen. So thanks, Mark, for giving us a glimpse of that.
A pleasure.
So as I mentioned, we're talking all about manufacturing today, and it was really important for us to bring one of our kind of premier partners into the video. And so, of course, brought in PTC. And so I've got Wolfgang Stelzer, Vice President at PTC here. You've got a really interesting background, not just having been working at one company for a while, but you're actually an entrepreneur, co-founding Reflect, which was then acquired by PTC. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about your personal journey.
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. Yes, I've been in that market for quite some time already. Together with a couple of colleagues, we founded Reflect in 2012 and had quite a wild ride. The market was quite wild, to be honest. And we were pretty successfully chasing industrial use cases in the discrete manufacturing space. And frankly speaking, competing with PTC, right? We were always chasing PTC, which was the #1 company. When COVID hit us, it was good and bad at the same time for us, right? In many areas, we struggled because customers from certain industries were slowing down, but in other areas, such as the medical devices industry, for example, customers picked up. And so not only customers in 2020 realized that there is value by augmented reality in remote collaboration scenarios, for instance, because suddenly people couldn't travel anymore, right? But also partner strategic companies, strategic acquirers out there. And so in 2020, we got approached by many of those and then asked ourselves the question, my co-founder and I, together with our shareholders, whether or not we want to partner, we want to do that step of the acquisition. And we were talking to many partners out there, and finally made the decision to PTC, because PTC and we are really sharing one vision. I don't need to explain anyone why it makes sense to close the digital thread, to bridge the physical and the digital with augmented reality. And so it was just the perfect partner for us, and I'm glad that we did it, because it actually turned out to be true.
Absolutely. And obviously now Vice President at PTC, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your current role and remit.
Well, at PTC, I'm now with Vuforia, which is the business unit doing all the augmented reality use cases, delivering our customers with augmented reality products. And I'm responsible for the business strategy as well as the global business operations. So doing the long-term business planning, working together with our team on how do we position on the market, where do we focus our energy, which customers, which use cases are we focusing on, and where can we really deliver the biggest value towards our customers, but also within our ecosystem at PTC.
So obviously, we've talked about the digital thread. The industrial metaverse is, of course, extremely kind of hot topic in this industry as well. This video series is called Design, Build, Operate, kind of key three areas when we talk about industrial metaverse or digital thread. The interesting thing with PTC is that you guys have a play in very much each of those phases, right? When we talk about design, you've got 3D CAD and PLM systems like Creo. When it comes to the build phase, you've of course got Vuforia AR bringing data to the frontline worker to enable them. And then of course, as operations, you have the ThingWorx platform, DPM, IoT. It's really quite a powerful, let's say, trifecta of kind of products within the ecosystem. I'm interested to get PTC's kind of perspective on this new kind of frontier.
AR, MR is a new technology, right? I'm pretty convinced that in 10 years from now, we don't talk about it as a technology anymore, similar to what we do as with the internet today. But when we look at our customers, when we look at the use cases, then it's actually pretty easy also for a startup like we were to start developing AR use cases on a pilot and on a proof of concept level. But the challenge which pretty much all of our customers get to at some point is like, okay, how do we scale that out now? I don't want to do that only for one vehicle in one region, in one language, for one use case. I want to do that for my entire range of vehicles globally with many different use cases, especially when the product is complex and has a lot of variance. So that scalability aspect is a very important one. And here, the digital thread comes in. And what we mean with the digital thread at PTC is that really you have a universal access to data. And once the data is being created in CAD, managed in PLM, you can actually use it across the entire value chain of the product and enrich it with information through to augmented reality and use the augmented reality layer to feed back.
And to pick up on that, I think that's quite interesting with the PTC portfolio. If I look back to when I was a customer of this kind of technology before, it was quite a painful kind of connection of getting 3D content into a device like a HoloLens or a VR headset, and that pipeline between a PLN system and an endpoint, let's say, can be quite painful. And for us to go from proof of concept to scale, it's absolutely critical that pipeline is streamlined, right?
Yes. And that, honestly speaking, is the only way how AR gets into the masses. You have to be able to scale out the content from upstream data sources. And we at PTC, we focus a lot on that, like creating data in CAD, managing it in PLM, then using IoT data to connect from machines, visualizing it in augmented reality, so that it's really a very seamless way of creating but also reusing content along the value chain.
Yeah, and that connection between data, really is that digital transform physical, right? Which is the kind of PTC kind of.
Correct. We have it in our DNA,
yeah,
and there's no other company out there having that digital thread in the DNA, right? That's why I love the company.
Absolutely. So obviously the industrial metaverse is kind of quite a hot topic. I mean, from Microsoft's perspective, if we talk about metaverse wider, we're kind of breaking things down into three kind of key themes: the consumer metaverse, live concert events and various others, the likes of Minecraft, Fortnite. We've got the enterprise metaverse, which is all, in terms of how do people work together in new ways with the likes of Microsoft Mesh and other platforms. And then we've really got this industrial metaverse, which is, I think, where we as Microsoft PCC really kind of play quite nicely together. The likes of mixed reality, IoT, AI, kind of working together to augment the workforce in new ways. I'm interested to get PTC's perspective on the industrial metaverse.
Well, first of all, the industrial metaverse is quite a big topic, right? And honestly speaking, we probably don't even know all the aspects of the industrial metaverse yet. But on the other side, we do have all the technology and all the building blocks at PTC to build the industrial metaverse. And we do see plenty of use cases which work today already and which we know deliver value to our customers, such as scanning a 3D environment and giving someone else at a completely different location around the globe the feeling of presence, remotely collaborating on solving a problem, but also then analyzing the movements of humans, of frontline workers through the factory and making sure that the work is being done efficiently, that the processes are all good, and that also the work is being done ergonomically, right? So many use cases that work today already, but again, we're only touching the surface of it.
I guess to kind of close things out, it'd be good to kind of get some sense of like customer signals. We could talk about a specific customer use case, but I think what might be more useful would be to kind of talk about, the signals, right? What are customers asking for from PTC? What are their current challenges, and what kind of solutions are kind of top of mind? Interesting to get your kind of thoughts on that.
Well, mixed reality can be used in pretty much every part of our life, in our consumer life, but also in the business context, right? That makes it challenging on the one hand, but also interesting on the other hand, because it is about identifying where the value is the biggest and where the current technology fits, right? And so what we see is use cases pretty much in every aspect of discrete manufacturing. A lot of it in the automotive service space, where really people need to get trained up servicing a vehicle, where augmented reality helps to identify parts, to locate parts, and to actually accelerate the repair. But also then when you talk about machine builders and how to operate machines, that you really digitalize these large, outdated, dusty machine operation manuals and digitalize the content in front of the worker's eyes, really. But then through to end-of-line quality inspection, that you use the technology to automatically validate whether or not the assembly or the product has been produced correctly with artificial intelligence features.
Wolfgang, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Alex.
So Mark, as you well know, one of the biggest challenges facing the planet right now is the energy transition, moving from fossil fuel generation to renewable sources of energy. One of the customers we're working with on the Industrial Metaverse is Equinox. We're helping them simulate and predict the real world to help them make the most efficient placement of their nearshore wind farms. Maybe we could talk through the process at a very high level.
Sure. So, this visualization, like you say, pretty high level, but essentially what we're sort of outlining here is, starting off, surveying the seabed, designing the layout of the wind farm,
sure,
manufacturing and installing, then getting the power onto land, monitoring, transforming the power and distributing it to the grid. That can be a decade-long process involving lots of different companies, even nation states. So super complex.
I can imagine extremely complicated. And Mark, you've been working with these massive multinational kind of energy companies over the last few years. Are there any kind of challenges and opportunities that you're seeing with the use of this sort of technology?
I mean, certainly at the this kind of early planning stage, there are multiple big companies, lots of different problems. So from the geology through to the cost of installation,
sure,
through to the maintenance. So optioneering all the different layouts, communicating that rapidly to different stakeholders all throughout this whole chain. Business cycles can be saved by simulating and visualizing and sharing this content in powerful new ways.
And I think, to be honest, when we're talking about such a massive world-scale problem as the energy transition, we need to look to new ways and new technologies to support us in that journey. So, Mark, thanks again for giving us a glimpse of the future.
Thanks, Alex.
So we just heard from partner PTC on how they're approaching the industrial metaverse and mixed reality. We also got a glimpse of the technology thanks to Fracture Reality. Now I want to hear what we're doing as Microsoft in this space, and Dynamics Guides is one of the key kind of products in our kind of mixed reality portfolio. So Amanda, as Principal Product Manager, figured it was good to talk to you. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Alex. So I'm Amanda. I sit in our engineering organization and I lead growth for our MR apps, which right now is Dynamics 365 Guides and Remote Assist, our first party, out of the box, ready to use software for the HoloLens for mixed reality.
What is Dynamics 365 Guides? For the person that hasn't tried it before, maybe you could tell us all about it.
So this is really what lets the frontline worker be hands-free, heads up, where they need to work, but have all of their information, their colleagues, digital information, all accessible wherever they are. So this is incredible for training scenarios, for taking workers through standardized processes, making sure they go through the right steps at the right time in the right order, and really just bring them to a world where they don't need to pull out those old binders full of paperwork, manuals, CAD models, diagrams, etc., that could be anywhere. You can have all of that information digitally and available to them while they're doing their work.
You've obviously been working on lots of new features within Guides. One of them, obviously, Microsoft Teams integration. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what's coming and what is new in Guides today.
Alex, the Teams integration is just incredible because it gives me the ability to collaborate remotely with anyone, anywhere in the world, all from that hands-free heads-up space. And what we have today is nearly all of the core capabilities in Teams that you would need, that you would expect from any other type of device like a mobile or a PC. You have that now on your headset. So for example, when I'm in Guides and I'm in a Teams call, I can access my full calendar, I can join a meeting, I can go through and add people to the meeting or to the call. I can participate in the chat, and if someone else sends a file through the chat, that opens up in my space as a holograph, and I can send a file from my OneDrive into the chat. So that's all there already. This month, we're coming out with some improvements to the annotations features, and that's really what lets someone guide you through your space and orient around the space and point you to different places. But traditionally, those annotations were focused on drawing on a surface. So that surface could be the side of a machine or a wall or any asset that you're standing in front of that you're working on, or a tabletop. And now we've also added the ability to draw in space. It's giving frontline workers the ability to access an incredible amount of digital information at their fingertips, modify that, update it, call in a colleague from anywhere in the world, and share what they're doing and collaborate without being in the same physical space.
I've obviously worked in automotive before. Maybe you could tell us a bit about a customer example of how they're using mixed reality and Guides today.
So the entire automobile industry is changing and transforming with electric vehicles. What that means is we need technicians who have a different skill set to work on a very different type of vehicle, that being electric vehicle versus traditional combustion engine. Porsche North America is using Guides and Remote Assist for two key scenarios. One being in training. So traditionally, they might have to send a technician off to a training facility with a physical automobile there that they could work on for the week for training. And now with Guides, they've got fully 3D holographic replicas of those same automobiles that you can interact with and operate on to do the same training in less time, more effectively, without ever having to leave the job site, if you will. And second is that core remote assist scenario. So whenever something needs expertise and needs to be looked at, can bring the right expert in from anywhere in the world instantly with remote assist for that see what I see through my eyes help. And what that means for a customer who brings their car into the dealership is that customer gets to be back on the road driving their car again faster.
Thanks, Amanda. See you soon.
Thanks, Alex. See you soon.
Thanks for watching this episode of Design, Build, Operate. To find out more, to catch other episodes, check out the Microsoft HoloLens YouTube channel. Cheers.